teams. One day he's there, next day he's not. Mama says you ain't no beauty queen. You learn to use the charm you've got. College, much too poor. You go to work where you meet most every cheat and con. You fall in love and you swear it's not a crush. You think he's got you, find out he's fuller brush. And a weekend lush, but you go on. Have a baby, rent a furnished flat. 5 flights of stairs, 10 hours a day. Christmas dinner at the automat. Sometimes you cry, most times you pray. Come home late and find a scribbled note. Gotta chase my dream, forgive me, John. He's off to China, Siam, or Kathmandu. His dream is bubbly and blonde and 22. So what else is new? But you go on. Then one dark day, your baby coughs a cough, which keeps you up most half the night. All the brilliant doctors laugh it off. You don't ask what, it's not polite. In a ward that reeks of bleach and tears, some distracted nurse says, well, she's gone. You burn the dolls and the books of fairy tales. You walk on bridges and stare at subway rails. You get hard as nails, but you go on. So you tough it out, you live, you learn. Not many laughs and fewer men. Slowly guts and nerve and spunk return. 2 years last month, it feels like 10. Matinees and solitaire are fine when there's no one there to lean upon. When dreams are dust, then the heart can turn to stone. The life you live is a life you live alone. And you just go on. Yes, you go on and on. Yes, you go
Amazing.
Welcome to If It Only Even Runs a Minute, the second edition. The evening is dedicated to rare and inspiring songs, anecdotes, and photos from Broadway musicals and off-Broadway musicals that may not have been fully appreciated the first time around.
And that was Lindsay Mendez, who was wonderful, singing But You Go On from Annie Warbucks. And Annie Warbucks was a 1993 musical sequel to Annie, which was, of course, one of the most popular musicals on Broadway ever, earning about $30 million in its original run. And the first attempt at a sequel for this musical was actually called Annie 2, Miss Hannigan's Revenge.
We don't have time in the concert to tell you what it was about, but you should look it up.
It's kind of awesome.
Oh my god, my first ad-lib.
Basically, the evening's gonna go. We're going to read the script. I'm going to try to get off topic, and she's going to keep me going.
But this time he was ad-libbing in rehearsal, and I kept putting it in the script, and he kept getting mad at me.
Anywho, Annie to Miss Hannigan's Revenge closed out of town, but the producers just would not give up. They thought there was something there, and so they made it into a slightly different version called Annie Warbucks. And
So in Annie Warbucks, an evil child welfare commissioner tells Warbucks that he must marry within 60 days or Annie will be returned to the orphanage, and hijinks ensue. That's all you get. For the most part, critics were begrudgingly positive about the show. According to Ben Brantley, the show seems as eager to be liked as Liza Minnelli on a comeback tour.
that's a good thing, though.
And there's the Albertville of the show.
She's I like that. Yul Brynner eyebrows. Anyway, there was plenty of praise for the performers. About Catherine Zaremba, not to be confused with Karen Ziemba, Catherine Zaremba, who played Annie. David Richards of The Times said, "The 9-year-old Miss Zaremba may be a reincarnation of Ethel Merman, something we won't know for certain until she's grown up and develops bangs."
But I think she has bangs. So
There sort of is a bang situation going on there.
So during the run of the show, Catherine Zaremba, played Annie, as we said, had her 10th birthday at Tiffany's. And the guest list consisted of every working child actor in town with an equity or SAG card. The menu, this is a big page in the New York Times all about her birthday party at Tiffany's. So the menu included peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with the crust cut off, of course. And she received a locket from Tiffany's that said, "To Annie from Daddy Warbucks." Classy. Donna McKechnie also received copious praise in the show for her turn as Sheila Kelly, who sings "But You Go On" and tries to win over Warbucks.
And Annie Warbucks, it played off-Broadway, actually, it was not on Broadway, at the Variety Arts Theater, because not enough money could be raised to go right into a Broadway house. And about the experience, Donna McKechnie said, "I thought the performances were fabulous, though unfortunately that renovated theater was not ideal. There was terrible ventilation, and during the winter, we all came down with bronchitis. We dressed in a hallway, still, we were in it together, and we bonded as a troupe and laughed constantly." Love her.
After gaining some momentum, Annie Warbucks was finally able to raise the money to move to Broadway. As you can see, here was their announcement in all the playbills that month, with an actual announcement of their theater. But something strange happened. A fine print Tony Awards rule was presented that said a show must transfer to an eligible house, this is interesting, within 30 weeks of the original opening at an ineligible house in order to qualify for Tony nominations. Those are the orphans. They're sad because...
There's the one, my favorite one is the sort of one from the left that's sort of...
And we think that that's actually Catherine Zaremba's sister, who they put in the cast.
Very angry.
But they're sad because without the possibility of Tony Awards, the investors took their money back, and the Broadway transfer was canceled. Really sad. Yeah. The rule kind of makes sense because it's like you wouldn't want the Fantastics to suddenly transfer and be a new musical. Like that's why the rule exists. But
yeah, it's a really fun score though. If you ever are able to find the cast recording, it has some really fun tunes.
And they all exactly match songs in Annie, like point by point. They match them.
And it starts with Getting a New Deal for Christmas and then picks up.
So Annie Warbucks did not transfer to Broadway, but it brought delight to many during its off-Broadway run with its old-fashioned pluck and style.
Excellent.